The best thing you could do for your business is sitting still, a couple times a week and saying, what did I do all day today? Did I enjoy doing that? And, red light, green light. Okay. A green light, I'm going to keep this on my plate. Red light, it's gone. Right. And do it ruthlessly. Like, who gives a shit what anybody thinks, because you don't do it for them. You do it for you.
Welcome back to the show, Real Estate vs. Technology, sponsored by Liftoff Agent. Looking forward to having our co-host with us. Here's Dan Gandee in the car today. He's on the road. Where are you at, bro?
I was driving back from appointment up north with an investor, so I couldn't make it back to my office in time. So I was like, I got to get here. So here I am.
Looks lush and sunny out there.
It is. It's beautiful today.
So. That's awesome, man. Good to hear. So super exciting for actually our returning guest. So if you want to go ahead and get her backstory and what have you, as far as how long, why she got in the business and all the things, her link will be down below. But this individual is in Michigan, top 1% real estate, sold 500 plus homes, and she is 6 years in Impact Agents team lead. Let's bring in Coti Brown on the show. Welcome back to Real Estate vs. Technology. How are you doing today?
I am good. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. So, wow, it's been about a year since you've been on before. And that's why I was telling our guests to go ahead and check out the past episode to get more into your backstory. But today and on today's show, really want to go deeper into how things are going with more of like the impact agent side of things and growing, I believe, your downline. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's funny because I was just realizing when we talked a year ago how different actually our business really looked.
Yes.
It's like day by day you do this hustle and this grind, and then you go, oh wow, a year. It definitely looks very, very different. A year ago we had a micro team, and a year ago we were with EXP. I thought honestly I'd probably write out like the realtor retirement years at that. And we are no longer with EXP. We're no longer having a micro team. We actually pushed all of our baby birds out of the nest. They're all solo agents that still work with us.
Yeah.
But I love that conversation because I think there's so many times that people think, well, you're getting on a team and you're going to be like a team forever, right? And that you can't work together. And that's actually exactly the opposite of what has happened. We had a team. These individuals were with us for about 3 years, and now they're all solo agents and they're killing it.
Wow.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's huge. No, I like the fact that you just brought up is like, you sometimes, and this is why we like to have returning guests, sometimes you get so caught up in like the things, doing all the things until you have a second to like take a deep breath or reflect. And that's kind of what this episode is about, is reflecting. I feel like it could be the narrative of today's show, like reflecting where were you, where you're at now, and what's changed. And I'm really curious, what has changed from the perspective of like being with EXP and growing a downline, doing that to where you're at now, and what shifted with the mindset as far as going in this different direction. And like you said, the baby birds, okay, let them go off. We still work with them, from a distance, but what's changed?
I mean, so many things. It's so funny because I say this every single year. I mean, we're 6 years in the business. I still to this day feel like almost like an outsider in this business. Like I look at things and go, well, I'd do that differently, or I'd do that. And now I'm looking at my own business in the rearview mirror and going, oh, I'd probably do that differently, and I think that's good. That's how we grow, right? But we went, I think that we followed, and I followed the normal progression, thinking, okay, well, I was on a team. I became a solo agent. We co-owned a brokerage. Then I went to Cloud-Based, where we owned, or helped lead this team across the United States. Then it was, okay, but am I truly happy doing that and a team? And the reality is I was just burning every candle at every end. I mean, just burnout is a real thing in our industry. And I think this last year, really getting back to the basics. And I think we've heard that so many times. I almost hate saying it because it's so better. But I had to go, what do I love about this business? Why did I get into it in the first place? Because very humbly, I quickly got to a place where it's like, okay, you're cranking out 70 plus transactions personally every year. We have a JV that's very profitable with a title company. We started buying Airbnbs. Like we had a really good thing going. And then I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, it's all great, but it's not why I got in this business. It's really not. I got in this business to walk my kids to and from school. I got in this business to truly help other people build wealth because I came from a place where my family didn't have a pot to piss in, So I wanted something different. And then it's just very easy, I think, when you have a little taste of success in this business to get really caught up. The other thing that nobody tells you is as I was growing, some of the things I was growing with did not give me better ROI, even though they looked cooler. Like, going from a solo agent or like a husband and wife team where literally 95% of everything we made, we brought home. Then you go into a team where all of a sudden that dips down to like, if you're lucky, 70%, if you're lucky on a micro team. I started going, but is this, and there's nothing wrong with it, but is it truly what you love doing? And so I think I just spent a lot of time this last year pulling back the things that I paid attention. Is it giving me energy or is it taking my energy? One of the simplest things we did last year is we got rid of our office. We've had an office the entire time we've been into business, whether we worked for somebody else or we had our own, we've paid for our own and had our own for the last 4.5 years. And I hate going. I mean, I'm one of those probably weird people. I know there's still people that love going. I'm like, you could not pay me enough money. We'd have a meeting every Monday with our team. And then it would be like, hey, my husband would come to me and be like, can you come show your face in the office? I'm like, I really don't want to. Like, I have no interest in going there. So we made a decision early this year. We said, we're going to get rid of our office and we're going to take that money we'd normally spend on an office this year because we knew exactly how much that was. And now instead we're buying property with it. We're turning that, waste, I feel like, for our sake, at least, of a debt into, okay, now we're going to have an asset. So that was a huge reliever of energy for me. Now, if you had this conversation with my husband, it might be totally different. He's an office junkie, so it's been some adjustment for him. But yeah, there's a million little things like that in our business where every day I'm looking at it and going, does that bring me energy or take my energy? Because if it takes my energy, I don't want to do it. I got to find a way to delegate it or I'm going to get rid of that piece out of my business.
Wow. I love that.
So true. And did you guys go indie? Like, where'd you guys go from EXP?
So I had no interest in leaving EXP. Somebody came to me after we were at a regional rally and said, hey, I want you to look at something. People say that to us all the time. I mean, you guys know how it is. Everybody's like, check this out. And they showed us a company called Epique. It's really a newer company. Not for everybody at all, because any kind of ground floor opportunity has its bumps, For us, it was perfect because we know how to do business. And I don't want to say that brokerages don't matter, but the people within the brokerage matter, right? That's my I firmly believe that the people you align with in a brokerage truly, truly matter. But once you really start doing business, the splits, the caps, the fees, all of that, I mean, you're within like 2-3 deals typically at most brokerages. You're splitting hairs. Like, where are you happy? Where are you going to thrive the most? Yeah. And, my very first year was 51 deals. I know how to do business. So I wasn't looking for some place to hold my hand. I was looking for a good business opportunity. The company was not public. Coming from a financial world before this, I knew that was a risk, but I also knew that the upside potential to it was huge. And so that's where we pined over it for 2 weeks. Is one of those decisions too, again, where I felt like I grabbed Ty kind of from the back of the neck and said, this is the direction we're going. But so far it's been exactly what we thought. It's been great. It's had some bumps. It's grown tremendously. I mean, when we came, I think there was, I don't even remember, like we're talking a couple hundred agents, and now we're, I think, close to 3,000 agents in a matter of less than 6 months. So it's grown significantly.
That's good.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I think that, I gave up my downline at EXP to go over to Real. And I think you make those decisions based upon, what are the opportunities and weighing it all. But sometimes it's a risk. You just got to roll the dice. It's like, that's what life's about.
And your culture, like I've heard wonderful things about Real's culture. And, and I'd like to, I feel like our culture that we had in our bubble at EXP was really good. I don't have anything to complain about there. I do think there was a heavier feel for agent attraction than probably was what most people got into business, partnership with us for. Most agents that came and wanted to work with us said, hey, teach me how to do 100 transactions a year. They didn't come because of revenue share, and so that did weigh heavy on our decision, where we wanted to make sure nobody's going to stay in this business. Revenue share is wonderful. I have a whole nother conversation about how great that piece is. But nobody's going to stay in this business if they're not making any money. Guess what? Revenue share doesn't exist if you're not teaching agents how to actually do business.
Yeah. And that's a whole other business model in itself. It's one thing to have, the downline, and then it's just like you see these agents that get out of production because they're literally just holding the hand of the downline to be able to help them go through that process. I almost feel like kind of like what Dan's doing, to get to have a good happy medium. Like you build the downline, but at the end of the day, you also train them and build a team and have them on the team, and then they have success. And then it's almost like just like icing on the cake. It's like that cherry on top. That it's just extra if you want to just get that rev share from that process. So tell us a little bit. I'm curious about this company. Is it the same type of cloud-based type of organization, or is it local in your market? Anyone who's listening and viewing, because I think that like going from like the narrative of what we talked about, kind of like reflection, to now getting into the fact of like, hey, we're seeing it, right? It was EXP trend the way. They're the ones that like laid the foundation to now Real and the company you're talking about. And there's other ones out there that are starting to sprout up, which are changing the way the models were from like Remax and Keller Williams and some of these other agencies and other brokerages. So curious, tell us a little bit about the organization.
Well, first and foremost, I'll say like Real, EXP, Epique, all of them. I really firmly believe that no matter where you choose, you should be with a place that has revenue share. I mean, I was with JP Morgan for years on a corporate side, and guess what? We had profit share. Still not as great as revenue share. There's no clear and concise equation to how much I made, but at least I got something back for the profitability, And when you're pouring into a company, especially when you're an independent contractor the way we are, and you bust your hiney, you should be getting compensated for people that you introduce to the company. You support. I mean, when I was at Berkshire, I would have agents that I introduced to Berkshire come and ask me questions before they would ask, the managing agent there and then the broker there. And so why would you not compensate the agents that are helping grow your business? So I firmly believe in this model. I think that if you're going to look at any companies, they should have a revenue share attached to them, bottom line. Epique is cloud-based, exactly the same way that Real is, that EXP is. And it's probably one of the reasons that Dan and I both probably felt comfortable going to another cloud-based. To your point, EXP proved that it works. And so I have a lot of gratitude for that. I'm so grateful for that opportunity. It taught me a ton. I never probably thought I would leave. The opportunity that I seen with Epique was the benefits, which our average agent within our organization that we had did on average less than 12 transactions, and even people we would coach and mentor, we'd have a handful that would do that. We had a handful that I conned, a handful that would do more than 12, but the average agent did 12. Right. And so it hit me one day, and it's funny because this didn't get introduced till later, when an agent had a listing come up and they said, it's a bigger listing. I got to pay for photos. I really need to pay for staging. I need to make sure all advertising. I've got to do all the stuff. And she's like, and I'll be honest, I haven't closed one in about a month. And that budget is going to be, like $1,000. And that's not what I planned for. And, probably to folks like us, like Dan and I was like, oh, okay. Like normally if I had another listing, I wouldn't think two thoughts about it because we're used to the cash flow of it. However, it hit me that a lot of these agents face this kind of situation where they don't have the means to take on some of the listings and some of the things to help market themselves the way that we've grown our business. So when these fellow agents, it was Robbie Cabaz, I'll give him a shout out, and Bobby Hall, they came to us and they were sidelines to us at EXP. So we didn't feed into them. They didn't feed into us, but we had grown a really great relationship. They said, we want you to look at this. And it actually had on there exactly what I had an issue with an agent just a short time before, where it was including listing photos. It was including signs. It was including, things like AI staging. It was including all of this marketing that was for free. And so when I looked it over, my first thought was, how can they do this? How can it be sustainable? And so I had calls with everybody and said, now I understand how the sustainability is. I'm like, how can I not say yes to this? Even if there's risk involved, how can I not? Because it was for the greater good too. Like we could afford it, but again, I'm looking down the nose of at least 50 agents that don't have those kind of funds. How can I not show them this opportunity?
Yeah. Wow.
I think that's the reason why most of them stay buyer's agents, because they don't have the capital to front listing expenses. And it's kind of interesting with these, like the whole NAR stuff that's going on and like how people are paid. It's like, buyer agent, a lot of time, a lot of gas, a lot of showings, a lot of back and forth and working through the emotional roller coaster of buying a property. But listing agents have to front a lot of cash up front. So I think I totally can relate with that. It's to the average agent that comes on my team. They're like, one of my perks and benefits is like, I pay for your photos. I pay for your marketing. I put it on the RMLS. You need a lockbox. You need a rider. It's like delivered.
Yeah.
And that obviously has a cost, but it's like a happy balance of trying to figure that out. So I think that's a huge benefit of trying to support the agents that need that support, because a lot of them they won't go after listings if they know that.
So true.
Yeah. You're exactly right. And it's one of the reasons that kind of fed into us saying, okay, when we move over, we don't need to, I had recognized that being a team lead really wasn't in my wheelhouse. I love to show by example. I love to run with people, but I also don't want to feel, I didn't get into this to feel like I was anybody's boss or to feel like I was, I just don't like that feeling at all. Mm-hmm. So when we moved over, I'm like, well, now your photos are paid for. And because I ran our team very similar, Dan, like we paid for their photos, we paid for their stuff, we paid for all that stuff, which is part of the reason I didn't like what happened with, my when I'm a solo agent or a husband-wife team, here's what my profitability looks like off 100%. When I'm on a team, here's what my profitability looks like. And our numbers, unfortunately, went significantly down. I'm grateful that we helped people grow, but when we came over, I'm going, all that stuff is paid for. So now it doesn't make as much sense to have the team, obviously, other than for brand new agents that need you to hold their hand.
Yeah,
totally get it. It's the component to all of it is like, sometimes it's a journey for us as team leaders, as owners, single individual agents, like trying to find what that discovery is of like, what do you enjoy about the business? Is it mentoring people? Is it, not taking anybody's phone calls? Sometimes no, I get it. It's sometimes the juice is less than what you thought you were going to squeeze. So
it's interesting because I think there's a lot of team leads. I think there's a lot of folks like myself that got into it thinking it was just the next step. Okay, now you've been a great top agent. The next thing you do is, or you've, before you own a brokerage or whatever, that this is the next step. I was just asked last month to go speak in Vegas at a convention, and I had a team lead as the host, like as the commentary. He said, I heard you just actually went back to being just a husband-wife team, and you took your team and now they're solo agents. He's like, I would love to connect with you on that. He's like, I'm literally in that same place. Wow. And after that convention, I had 4 more people come up to me saying the same thing. And one of the gals broke my heart. She goes, I just have not done it literally for the last 2 years because I'm scared what people will think. And I'm like, why do you care? I couldn't have cared less. I'm like, we dismantled our team and we got rid of our office. People locally could have been like, oh my God, you're going out of business. Like, what's going on? I'm like, no, I just took 2 things that I'm not wrapped up in ego and I don't have the care or the energy to do anymore, and said, okay, this is off my plate. I'm not doing it anymore. And I think more people need to act that way in this business. Find out what you truly enjoy, because that's where we thrive. That's where we grow. I love the listing side of things. It's what I enjoy well. That's why our business is about 75% listings. It's the piece that I feel like I'm very solid at, And so I think if we all fine tune our skills, then this industry as a whole becomes exactly what we need it to be. It's experts doing what they're experts at.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love this. I got to say, this episode is turning into a total different direction. This is good because I never even really thought about it until we got into the conversations just now, that there's agents out there that are dealing with these issues, and they're having these things come up for them. So this is going to be great for a lot of people out there who's viewing and listening. After our team works the magic and Lift Off agent side with all the editing and the production of everything, we can really be able to make sure that we bring this in the direction we want to. So now, Coti, what are you doing now? So is it Impact Agents just you and your husband, and you guys are just transacting, and there's no more downline, there's no more agent attraction piece to it?
We still have a downline though. We still, I know that's what we call it. I hate that word. I just don't know why.
Yeah.
We've always called it our community of agents, but when we left EXP, everyone with the exception of like 2 agents pretty much came with us and said, hey, Dan, you probably experienced some of this. They said, I'm here because of you. EXP is great, but wherever you're going, that's where I'm going because, Ty and I were EXP to them. And since the interesting thing that's never happened before, I had people before, unfortunately, that would, if they didn't know me well, would not answer my call because they would say, oh, you're calling from EXP, you're trying to recruit me. Well, I'm like, I'm not. I'm just trying to brainstorm with you because I see you're good at this piece of business and I'm trying to get better at it kind of thing. When we came over to Epique, I started having people that had reached out to us. And so we actually have a handful of agents that came on board with us from brick and mortars. And I think it's because it really speaks to some of the overhead costs that they deal with. I think the company as a whole speaks to, okay, there's healthcare. Okay, there's roadside assistance. There's listing photo. There's all these things. And those are things that speak their language, not rev share, right? And if we're honest, like some people never in a million years want to collect a rev share check. That's fine, but they should still be able to benefit through other ways, the transactional business side of things. So we have a little bit less agents here, but the rev share works a little bit different. So our rev share checks are a little bit bigger here than they were before. And we're also area leaders for the company, which I think is really cool. It's almost like we removed our team because they were solid enough to be solo agents, but we became area leaders, which allows us honestly to fall into a place that I really enjoy because now people call us when they need us that are really in our territory, like mid-Michigan-ish is, the area we cover. And so I had a gal earlier today call. She's like, I got a $3.2 million listing. I don't know how to market this. I've literally everything I've ever put on the market's been less. And all I've had to do is slap it on MLS because she got, she's a COVID license baby. And so she's never had to really sell a home. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. You're going to do these 5 things first because they're free. Then you're going to go into this thing because it's the next least cost. Then you're going to go, walking her through it. And I feel like that dynamic for me, I love coaching and mentoring. And I think everybody would say this, right? I love coaching and mentoring. I hate feeling like I'm nagging people to work. When people want to seek me out and they want advice because they're going to run with it, cool. I am an open book. I will tell you exactly how to get to 500 homes in 5 years. But if I'm going to have to like kick your hiney just to get out and have your first sale, like that's so frustrating. So I love the area leader role. I do think Epique has done a really good job with that because I think that that's a piece at some brokerages where there's a disconnect between like broker and an agent. They really need somebody that's on the ground, bootstrapped, still doing the business to just tell them, okay, here's what we do in the field kind of thing. And so I've really enjoyed that. And we get compensated for it. So that helps instead of feeling like before I would say, I would always take in all the orphans, whether I was at Berkshire or we were at a brokerage. Somebody didn't work for us. I didn't care. I mean, I had agents from other brokerages call and say, Coti, I don't know what to do. My broker won't answer, but I know you do a ton of business. How do you solve this? And, you get the value of like feeling like you're being nice, but that doesn't add up to groceries or anything, So, so here we actually are nice. They're nice enough to compensate us for being area leaders as well.
Wow.
I love it. I do have to head out at noon, but I wanted to say, I think this dynamic of transition and change is like so important to the agent journey. And I think, thank you for sharing this because so many people right now are trying to figure out like, do I go tech? Do I go brick and mortar? Do I stay a team leader? Do I stay an individual agent? Because there's so much shifting going on in the industry. And I think this is like monumentally important to anybody out there is that you got to discover like exactly what you said, like what is good for me and my family and my situation and how's that going to help me adapt moving forward. So
I'm biased. I will always think that companies like Real, EXP, Epique, anything online, I really truly feel like I have more support in these type of communities than I ever had at a brick and mortar. You have people that want to be there, that are not forced to do desk time. They're not forced to be in the office. You have people showing up because they want to show up. And that's what truly builds the relationship. That's what builds the community.
So,
wow.
Right.
I love this. I love this. And, in closing, Dan has to get going. Coti, we love to have you back on again in another year, see where you're at, because it's changed so much. And I think that the narrative of this episode is like, be happy, man. Like, be happy, do what you love, right? There's no right or wrong reason. Just listen to your intuition. And if you're like, oh my God, like you said, I don't want to go in the office right now. Your husband's like, where are you at? I don't want to be there.
Right.
You know, like that's awesome. And you both of y'all made some shifts from different locations. So in closing, is there anything that you want to leave our viewers and listeners as we close out the show today that they could take with them, especially if they're going through something similar that you just went through?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is none of us are still long enough to ever take stock of what we really want and if we're truly happy. And I think that if we really did that, because this is such a hustle, grind, grit culture, you know, we all get caught in. I'm an achievement junkie, but truly sitting down right now, the best thing you could do for your business is sitting still, you know, a couple of times a week and saying, what did I do all day today? Did I enjoy doing that? And, you know, red light, green light. Okay. A green light, if I keep this on my plate, red light, it's gone. Right. And do it ruthlessly. Like, who gives a shit what anybody thinks, you know, because you don't do it for them. You do it for you. That would be my biggest piece of advice. Like you said, the environment, all of it's changing. And so I wouldn't want to change with it and become somebody I'm unhappy being. I would like to change in spite of it and be exactly who I want to be in this business.
Wow. Well said. That's awesome. Coti, thanks so much for being on today's episode. Really do appreciate your time. And sorry about before she was on the air, she said, where are you guys at? We're not in Zoom anymore. We've shifted some things. Dan, thanks for co-hosting as always on the road, in the field, joining us for our podcast today.
Love it. Take care, guys.
Awesome. You too. And thanks to all our viewers and listeners, as it is our intention for taking things from our episode of Apply to present more massive success. Thanks, Liftoff Agent, for sponsoring the show. Like, subscribe, notification bell, and follow everyone here. I think you have great information. And Coti, thanks again for being with us. And we'll see you again another year.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you too. Take care.